So I remember when I first saw the F-Type, it was on a Top Gear episode. Jeremy Clarkson was reviewing it. It was an orange one, convertible, and I knew when I saw it then, I thought it was the most beautiful car ever. I didn't think I would be able to own one, but here I am. I've got one now. You know, there are a few reasons why I chose the car. Of course, the looks. I just think the looks are incredible. It's not just a standard car that's been turned into a sports car. You know, you get like M4s and C63s and cars like that, but they've taken a saloon car and then just slapped a big engine in it. I didn't want something like that. I think the F-Type is a proper sports car. It's got that proper sports car look, which I think looks incredible. And of course, that exhaust sound. That exhaust sound is absolutely incredible. When you've got the roof down, when you've got it in sport mode, and you put your foot down, especially down some country lanes and things like that and through tunnels, it just sounds absolutely amazing. You know, nothing comes close. And whenever people hear the exhaust, they always think, how is that stock? How is that stock exhaust? Are you sure you haven't modified it? But I always assure them that it's stock and that I haven't messed with anything. I haven't messed with the exhaust. I haven't messed with any of the mechanics. So we'll cover the good stuff first. This car has 380 horsepower, around 380 horsepower, and I think for everyday driving that is more than enough. You know, I've never really felt like, oh, I wish I had more power. I wish it was faster, because you know, I'm not the type of guy that takes a car on a track. I mainly just want a car for the weekends to enjoy, have a laugh with, and just enjoy going out with friends as well who have nice cars. So yeah, I think 380 horsepower is enough for everyday driving. There isn't a dual clutch transmission in this car, but I do have the ZF Auto, and I think the ZF Auto is brilliant. Obviously it's not as fast as a dual clutch, but it is a very, very reliable gearbox. So many different cars use it. Even my 1 Series, my everyday car that I use for getting to and from the office and driving around, pottering around in, that has a ZF gearbox. It has the same gearbox as this, and knowing that there's so many different cars that use that, knowing that lots of brands trust it, I know that it's a reliable gearbox, and I think that's a lot more important. You know, you don't want a gearbox which isn't untested, which isn't reliable. When the gearbox is in sport mode and the car is in dynamic, the gear changes are so fast and aggressive. They're really loud as well. They give such a nice sort of like crackle when you upshift, which just sound amazing. It just sounds awesome. I've also found this car definitely has two personalities. When you have it in normal, it just drives like an everyday car. The suspension isn't the softest, but it's still definitely good enough for everyday driving. There's also a snow and ice mode, and this mode is basically obviously for using it when the weather's not too great, but it can actually be used to save fuel because it changes gear earlier, it keeps the revs low. So yeah, if you're looking to save fuel, that is the mode to go for. But then when you're driving a car like this, I don't think most people are looking to save fuel anyway. But when you put the car in dynamic mode, with a flick of a switch, it just turns into an absolute monster. It's incredible. It really does have two personalities. You know, when you put the gearbox in sport as well, the gear changes are so quick, the throttle response is so quick, you can feel the suspension getting harder. It just feels like a completely different car, which I really, really like. I like how it can be used as an everyday car, but also be used to really hooning around in if you want to. This car is also pretty well spec'd up. I have things like the orange finishes on the paddles and the starter button, which look incredible. I love touches like that. I have the bigger and sportier steering wheel. I have the active exhaust. I also have the upgraded wheels. I have the upgraded brakes. The only thing it doesn't have is the sport seats, but I think the sport seats are harder anyway. I think they feel a bit harder when you sit in them. So yeah, I'm happy with these seats as it is. I found the handling of this car to be incredible. Because you sit so low and the wheels are basically at each corner of the car, it just goes into corners so well. feel like I still haven't actually pushed it to its limit. You know, I think I could go even harder into corners, but obviously I don't want to write the car off. So yeah, I'm still a bit safe when it comes to driving. I don't want to be reckless. I don't want to be one of those guys who thinks, oh yeah, I'll just go into this corner at like 100 miles an hour and then end up writing the car off. You know, don't want to be doing stuff like that. I have also made some subtle changes to the car. If you saw my first F-Type video and pictures from when I first got it, you'll have noticed that there were some chrome bits around the grille, chrome wheels as well. I ended up changing all of that, ended up getting it all blacked out. I love the all black look. You know, I wanted to go for an all black look. I wanted to go for a stealthy look, but I think maybe for my next car I might actually go for a car with some color. You know, I want something that's a bit leery, you could say. I want something that's quite bright. The roof in this car goes down in 12 seconds, which is actually pretty fast, and it can go down up to 35 miles an hour, which is brilliant. You know, being able to just drive around normally and being able to put the roof up and down is fantastic. And let me say, this car completely transforms when the roof is down. The sounds that you hear with the roof down are just completely different to when you have the windows down. You can hear the higher pitched tones of the exhaust, you can hear the supercharger whine, and of course in the summer when it's super hot and it's super nice and you're going down some country lanes or you're going along the beach or whatever, having the roof down is just incredible. Nothing else comes close. I think the F-Type with the roof down is actually better looking than the coupe. However, when the roof is up, I don't think it's anywhere near as good looking as the coupe. I actually think it's quite ugly with the roof up, but regardless, I didn't get this car for everyday driving. If it was for everyday driving, I would definitely get the coupe. I think the coupe would be better for that, but I got this for weekend driving, for casual driving, and having the roof down in the summer, nothing else comes close. The interior on this car is absolutely fantastic. I think the fit and finish is sublime. Whenever I have friends or family get in the car, they're always impressed by the interior. They're always impressed by the way it looks, the way it's finished, you know, because there's leather everywhere, there's nice chrome bits here and there. I also love some of the unique touches that Jaguar implemented, such as the air vents. You know, when you turn the aircon on, the air vents come up, which just looks cool. I mean, it's just cool either way when you have vents going up or down. I also love how the temperature dials have a screen in them, and these are so satisfying to use. The sort of motion of using them, the clickiness, you know, it's hard to describe, I guess, until you use them. But yeah, they're just satisfying to use. The only bad thing that definitely lets it down is the screen, the infotainment system. There's no other way of putting it. It's absolute garbage, to be honest. It's just absolute garbage. I don't like how they've put some of the aircon functionality in there. For example, if you want the air to come out of your face or your feet or on the windscreen, you know, you have to go into the system and do it by touch, which is just ridiculous. I just don't think that's a good idea. I think things like that should always be buttons, should always be tactile. I've never been a fan of touchscreens in cars. I just think it's dangerous. I don't think it's safe to drive around. You know, when you're driving and you got the touchscreen there and you don't know where the buttons are, because obviously the buttons always move, so you have to look away from the road just to do anything. I don't think that's safe at all. I think things should always be buttons, but unfortunately it looks like many cars are going to touchscreens now, moving a lot of things to touchscreens, which isn't great, but hopefully people realize that touchscreens aren't that great in cars. Now, when it comes to the bad things, there are a few things that I don't like for sure. The seats are one of them. I definitely think the seats could be more comfortable. I definitely think the seats could be better, because when you're doing long journeys, it does end up becoming quite uncomfortable driving around in seats like these. Jaguar, I think, could have done better there. The ride height in this car is fantastic. However, I think the dash line and the door line is just way too high. You know, I feel like I'm sitting way too low, even though I've got the seat in the highest position. Maybe it's because I'm quite a small guy, but even then, I just think it's just too high. When I'm sitting in my 1 Series, which is nearly just as low, to be honest, the sort of dash line is really nice and low, so I can really see each corner of the car. But in this car, I feel like I just can't see the corners, and that lets it down when it comes to handling. When I'm going into corners and stuff, I don't really know how close I can get to the corner, you know, and I don't know where the curbs are either. And I've actually scraped one of my wheels. I've got it repaired now, but I scraped one of my wheels mainly because I just couldn't see the curb. So yeah, I definitely think the sort of line of view could definitely be better. The infotainment system is absolutely horrendous. You know, I've gone into it already. There's no point going into it more. It's just atrocious, to be honest. Now, when it comes to a brand like Jaguar, there is always a weariness when it comes to reliability. Touch wood, in the 1.5 years that I've owned it, I have not had a single problem. I think Jaguar have really sort of eradicated the problems that they used to have in the past, mainly because obviously they want to become a mainstream brand. I think they've really put much more effort into making sure that their cars are more reliable. You know, I haven't heard of many other F-Type owners which have had crazy issues. Obviously there are outliers, there are people who will have issues regardless, but you know, I haven't had any issues luckily, and I haven't heard of anyone else that has an F-Type that has had an issue. So yeah, I've been very impressed by the reliability. The only things I really had to pay for with this car are tyres and servicing. There have been no other costs really, except from fuel of course, because with a car like this you're going to go through a lot of fuel. So yeah, other than that, not really many other costs, and it's actually been quite a cheap car to run. I think this is definitely the best car I've ever owned, and I think it will probably be one of the best cars I've ever owned as well. You know, I don't know what I'm going to have in the future, I don't know what other cars I'm going to have in the future, but in the year and a half that I've had this, I absolutely adore it, mainly because of that exhaust sound, having the roof down, and just being able to go along country lanes in the summer and just really taking advantage of it. People respect it as well. You know, when you see it come down the road, I feel a lot of people do actually look at the car, even though it's not like a Lamborghini or Ferrari. And I have had people, you know, on the motorway sort of give me thumbs up. I have had people come up to me and say, you know, that's a nice car. Even when I'm filling up with petrol, I've had people say, oh, you know, that's a nice car and stuff. So yeah, it definitely gets looks and stuff. It's just such a great package. The power is fantastic, the steering is fantastic, the spec I got in this car is fantastic, the engine is fantastic, the exhaust is fantastic. There's just so many good things about this car. I don't know what I'm going to get next, but I'm so tempted just to get a newer version of this because I love it so much. But I think that would be pretty silly, mainly because I haven't really owned other proper performance cars, and you know, I want to be able to try lots of different cars, see what they're like. But yeah, I think this is probably going to be one of the best cars I've ever owned. Let me know if you like this video, because I do want to do more car reviews. I want to cover more cars on the channel. You know, I'm a car fanatic. I've really been into cars since I was young. So yeah, thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe for more.